What is poppin' squad? It's your boy Jesimein, and Title Update 5 is on its way. It's gonna be the next, I guess, patch for everybody to try out the game again, the ones who quote unquote quit or whatever. But one thing I did notice, if you played Division 1, you kind of saw this before, right? We kind of saw this weird like gray area stage in between content where we weren't really sure what it's gonna be like. And you start seeing it reflecting the DZ, and it's so weird how no matter what, even if it's new players or old players, it's just a weird division culture thing where everything becomes like West 42nd. So as you can see, like lately, whenever I hopped on in the dark zone, I don't know what it was about this spot, but whenever we came here, it was always players just like kind of goofing around, free falling and trying to make our own game within the game, which is a cool thing, right? It's a cool thing about the division community that not a lot of other games, if any games, have. But I can see where a lot of players don't necessarily like this, and they kind of get irritated at that fact. But if you don't know what West 42nd culture is, that's like pretty much where people are pretty much testing their builds, trying to experiment, having fun, doing the 1v1s, doing the free-for-alls, and kind of like showing off everything that they grinded for, while talking about what's to come next. So in this situation, we were pretty much all just discussing the skill changes and the meta and what everybody pretty much has and kind of theory crafting, because we can only do so much without having the patch in our hand, right? So this is the part of the division where people call it quote unquote dead, but I kind of see it as like the planning stage, right? This is like we know we have a test coming, and we're kind of just, I don't know, kind of like studying the game again, trying to theory craft mentally, trying to figure out, okay, what's gonna work, what's not gonna work, while testing out while we can. Is it a good thing or a bad thing? I think for most people, a lot of people who enjoy the game for what it is will see it as a good thing, because you get to test, you get to pretty much PvP. It almost feels like PvP is better in some ways because it's more controlled, right? It's less cheese when you're trying to play with your friends and doing that, and you get your PvP fix at the same time, and you get to kind of like have little bragging rights with your build. It's kind of like a fight club type thing. But the people who don't like this are pretty much gonna say, well, it's not native to the game. Everybody's sitting in front of a checkpoint. There's like, you don't get to really use the rogue mechanics and the manhunt mechanics and the rest of the map, which also makes sense too, right? Because we want organic gameplay. That's Division at its finest. Division 1 was at its finest when the whole map was being used and you were funneling people left and right, and people are coming from fast traveling up and sandwiching you and all that. Of course, we love that, but this is the part of the game where players start to just pretty much lock in on what they want from the game, pretty much theory craft it, and then this is where people start choosing. So I feel this next patch is going to be super, super vital for the entire game, not only because it's content, but because people are at this point, right? This is the first time I've really seen it like this since this game's launch. I don't remember if Division 1 around this time, like 4 or 5 months in, was like this, but I do remember it definitely being a part of the game, and it became a part of the culture, and I'm starting to see it like now it's more of like a showcase your build, theory craft. Hey bro, what are you running? Oh, that's actually a pretty dope build. I'm gonna try that out, and I'm gonna have this, that, whatever, and pretty much talk about it, which is, if you're a Division 1 player, this is familiar to you, but if you're a newer player, you're probably like, okay, so this game is dead. I had a lot of fun actually doing it. I had a lot more fun doing this than actually running around looking for players. This actually ended up in like a big free for all, and then it ended up in a team battle. So it's just how Division 1 is, right? So Division 1 right now is like this, except obviously the servers are more active as far as the natural organic way, because that's just how the game is. But this is what I see happening with this game, period. Division 1 went through a broken phase. Then this happened where players started doing this. And then afterwards, the game started getting better in a lot of regards, where shotguns were nerfed, like it's about to happen. Skills became good and healing became good. And then kind of like the 4v4 meta type thing came back, in team fights and synergy and all that stuff. So I'm excited in a weird way. I don't know why. I'm not necessarily saying because of the patch itself, but because of how the culture ends up handling the game. I see once skills come back into it and maybe some slight nerfs here and there, I can see the PvP being fun for a lot more people who don't necessarily enjoy it for what it is right now, because right now it's definitely super tanky, extra long fights, as you can see in this little 1v1 I was doing with this guy. it's kind of ridiculous as far as how long it is hopping med kits and stuff. But if they somehow bring this back and kind of tone it back to where team play and damage is actually a thing outside of Eagle Bearer, I can kind of see a lot more players saying, you know what, I'll give it another try. Plus the players who enjoyed their skills and stuff can actually have something to use. And this culture kind of sets up lobbies to be exciting, right? Even though it's not random players, people are going to start trying to fill up servers with like three different teams, and pretty much just go crazy. Whether it's a free for all, whether it's 1v1s, it's still PvP, and it's better than having to deal with getting ganked by cheesers and all this stuff. And I feel it's good and bad, and it's weird because I seen this before with Division 1, but before obviously we had nothing to compare it to, so we didn't know, we considered it dead, right? Everybody was like, the game's dead, this, because look how players are playing it, like this isn't even PvP. But it's crazy because the same people who are in love with Division 1 PvP, they have to by default be in love with this, because this was a big part of Division 1 culture for months, bro. Like this is the first month that this has happened with Division 2. But if you play Division 1 and you say Division 1 was a perfect balance of PvP and it needs to go back to that, technically this looks like the beginning of it, at least culture wise. Maybe not stat wise and balance wise, but I mean that can come with time. But as far as the culture and how people are playing the game, and how people are spending their time in the dark zone, it seems like people are less worried about farming now and more about PvP if they're in the dark zone. And when it gets to that, that's when people are willing to fight, right? That's when people say, okay, I finally have my build. I finally feel on par. I finally feel like I can compete. So maybe there is a point to me doing this. So that's good news. It's hard to prove it to people who don't understand, but I promise you, if you play Division 1 as a vet, you've seen this cycle before, right? We went through a broken patch with the shotguns, and everybody was like, the game's dead because of the shotguns. And as soon as the shotguns got nerfed and like 1.7 and stuff came out, bro, the game like jumped up in popularity once again, right? And I kind of see this happening again. I don't know if the next title update is going to be that one, but I know the fact that they're taking away shotguns and allowing that cheese part of the game to be gone, and then adding skills viability, I think that it's going to be better than what it is for as of right now with this outrageous RNG spice that we have going on, where you can get an Eagle Bearer that's way better than another one, and you can get armor chest pieces that give you 30% armor, and everything else is pretty much redundant and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know what they're going to do when they do their major PvP overhaul. I'm kind of excited because, to be honest, anything different is going to be good for me. Personally, especially with the game, a lot of people just want something new, even if it's not necessarily the ultimate fix. They just want something new, and they want a new feel, a new meta, and pretty much that's what people are asking for. And that's why you're kind of seeing this turnaround of culture where instead of people are just running around farming and running away, you see a lot of people just hoarded up in areas like this, testing out their builds, doing free-for-alls and all that stuff, which it's more fun, right, than looking for somebody and end up killing them one time and they have a shotgun, or they kill you and then they disappear, right? More of your time is spent fighting and having fun than actually being irritated at the fact that the game isn't where you want it to be. And I think that's a good thing. I think that that's something we could look forward to. I think that's something that a lot of players wanted but didn't ask for necessarily. Like, players wanted a more active DZ. Yes, it isn't the native way that you would expect, but I still feel like once more players get like this, teams are going to start coming in, and then you'll be able to have more fun directly PvP. And even if it's chicken dance looking crazy like this, obviously this footage is from this title update, and we pretty much ran out of ammo because of how much tankiness there is. But once the PvP main patch comes out, which I don't know when it is, once that comes out, then we can really gauge, okay, what is this game's longevity as far as PvP is going to be like, because they promised game modes. They promised that we haven't even had the real PvP balancing patch. What are they going to do to make this game appeal to the audience that it needs, right? And to be honest with you, I have big faith in the fact that they hear you guys on how important Division 1 PvP was to you guys, and I feel like something's about to happen with that PvP patch to kind of tone it back to that. And I don't know, I could be speaking in faith, right? But that's pretty much how I see it, especially because I'm starting to see it within the community itself, culture-wise. So let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you guys rather have this kind of hold off on the culture while the patch comes out, or would you rather keep it the way it's been? Do you have a problem with this? Was West 42nd culture a bad thing or a good thing for Division 1, and how do you think it's going to affect the Division 2? Let me know in the comments below. It's been real. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. Your boy is out.